So, you want to play a tabletop video game, huh? Dungeons and Dragons? No? What about Cyberpunk? Also no? Well, how about Vampire the Masquerade? That's right everyone, I'm GarethTheGamer and welcome to my super spoopy Halloween special for 2022, where I'll be playing games from the Vampire the Masquerade series. Now the purpose of this video is to serve as an introduction to the Vampire the Masquerade universe and provide a suppository of information that I will assume you know going into my later videos. Oh wait, it's a repository.
Oops. Uh-oh.
Also, why does touching milk kill you? Now doing some very rudimentary research into Vampire the Masquerade will reveal the fact that there's loads of games. Just look at the games available to get on Steam. Most of these are what could be described as visual novels, which to me don't really classify as games. Therefore, when I say I'm looking at Vampire the Masquerade games, I'm talking about games that can actually be classified as games. I know there's a battle royale game called Bloodhunt, but I won't be covering it, sorry. This leaves 3 games, quote unquote, those being Redemption, Swansong and of course Bloodlines. I'll be using terminology in those videos that I will outline here. First and foremost, I will be abbreviating Vampire the Masquerade to VTM, but in reference to the games I won't even say VTM and use the names of the games like I did a second ago. Before I get to the lingo though, how about some context? This will be taken from the games and supplemental documents that came with the games, so feel free to correct anything I get wrong. So it all started with Cain, you know, Abel and Cain, the sons of Adam and Eve. Cain was cursed by God to walk the earth for all eternity, which in this universe's context means he was the first vampire. All vampires in the universe trace back to Cain, allegedly. Now Cain turned 3 humans into vampires, at least according to Swansong and Redemption, who then turned 13 more humans into vampires, which resulted in 13 unique vampire types, or the roots of the clans I will get to in a moment, called the Antediluvians. They created and maintained the first city, Enoch, for years, with no new vampires being created until it all fell apart when a great flood destroyed the city and forced Cain into solitude. Then there was a war where the 3 vampires that Cain directly created were slain by the Antediluvians, who created another great city where one more generation of vampires were created. Eventually, the city grew old and was destroyed, at least according to Redemption. Then the vampire numbers spiraled out of control and you get the picture, all because any source of authority was extinguished. This is also why sometimes vampires are referred to as Cainites. You know, a vampire word to refer to another vampire who's a part of one of the 13 clans. I may as well get into the clans now. The 13 clans of VTM are as follows: Assamite, Bruja, Cappadocian, Giovanni, Followers of Set, Gangrel, La Sombra, Malkavian, Nosferatu, Ravnos, Toreador, Tremere, Tzimisce, and Ventru. Now I know what some of you may be thinking, but Gareth, you listed 14 clans there, not 13, so surely one of them doesn't count, right? And you would be right to say that. The question is though, which one is it? If you're like me, you may jump straight to the Followers of Set, since they are more involved with ancient Egyptian mythology and seem to owe their roots to aspects of this. However, I think you'll find that to be wrong, and in fact it's the Tremere clan that may be the odd one out. Notably because the description from the Manual of Redemption says once a cabal of mortal sorcerers, which could mean they existed at the time the Antediluvians were about, but let's keep going. It essentially says the Tremere made sacrifices in order to achieve eternal life, but only found vampirism, and ends with a statement that suggests that other vampires refer to the Tremere as mortal wizards who cursed themselves for eternity while studying the secrets of immortality. However, Redemption has a line of dialogue that hints at the Tremere killing an Antediluvian to achieve their vampire status, not an elder like the Manual for Redemption suggests. So I don't know what to say, other than it may actually be the Giovanni clan that are the odd ones out, as Redemption says the Cappadocians were all killed off and the Giovanni clan is what has resulted from this extermination. Maybe that's why in Redemption's manual, the Cappadocian and Giovanni clans are on the same page, because the Cappadocian clan links directly back to the Antediluvians, but the Giovanni doesn't and instead links back to the Cappadocians. That's my best guess as to what's happening here. Then there's the vampire sects, the most notable ones being the Camarilla, the Sabbat and the Anarchs. The Camarilla are like the Vampire Authority. They uphold the Masquerade, you know, as in Vampire the Masquerade? VTM. The Masquerade being the law that all vampires must follow to keep the existence of vampires hidden from humanity to ensure their survival. Their structure is that a prince is at the top, who is in charge of an entire city, with a sheriff who enforces their will, and as you trickle down the power ladder, you see representatives of some of the 13 clans that forms the Primogen. The represented clans are typically the Bruja, Ventru, Toreador, Gangrel, Nosferatu, Malkavian and the Tremere. The Sabbat are the opposite of the Camarilla, who harbours complete disdain for humanity and the Camarilla, and wishes to enslave mankind. Basically, these are the bad guys however you choose to look at it, which mostly comprises of members from the Semitsi and La Sombra clans. Finally, the Anarchs are vampires that reject the leaders of the Camarilla and most of their traditions, and wish to see vampiric affairs differ from the status quo. They are rebellious and appear fragmented, at least compared to the other sects, with everyone involved being treated on fair terms. All of these sects play a huge role in Bloodlines, with varying significance in Swansong and Redemption. Going back to the Camarilla for a moment, they heavily believe in 6 ancient traditions, believed to have been created in either Enoch by Cain or in the city the Antediluvians created. The first tradition being the Masquerade, whereby a vampire must not reveal their true identity to one who is not a vampire, otherwise they will be destroyed. The second tradition regards domain, where a vampire must be respectable in another vampire's territory. The third tradition involves progeny, where a vampire can only create another vampire with the consent of an elder, otherwise both will be destroyed. I used the term elder earlier, and in this context, an elder is a vampire who exists in a position of authority, such as LaCroix in Bloodlines or Iverson in Swansong. The fourth tradition regards accountability, as in, until a newly created vampire is released, the vampire who created them commands them and is wholly accountable for their actions, thus they endure their sins, if any are committed. The fifth tradition relates to hospitality, where one must honour another's domain and must present themselves to the ruler of said domain to be accepted, otherwise they are nothing. The sixth and final tradition concerns destruction, where a vampire is forbidden to destroy another of their kind, with that right only being granted to their elder. I'll be referring to these where appropriate in the upcoming videos. Let's move on to the lexicon, or the glossary of terms used in VTM. I've used a couple words already, such as Antediluvian, Elder, Clan, Cainite and Sect, but there's more, such as Kindred, a vampire word to describe other vampires. Kain, a vampire word to describe humans. The Embrace, the act of transforming a human into a vampire where the human's blood must be drained first. Sire, a vampire's parent, quote unquote, as in the vampire who created another vampire through the Embrace. Child, a new vampire created through the Embrace. Ghoul, a human who has been given vampire blood but hasn't been bled dry beforehand, becoming a minion to that vampire. The Beast, a description of the feeling that stirs within a vampire, that which would turn them into a ravening monster. Thinblood, a human that went through the Embrace but doesn't possess much, if any, vampiric powers. Kuei-Jin, otherwise referred to as Eastern vampires, these are humans that are reincarnated via spiritual awakening. Gehenna, a vampire word to describe the end of the world, where the Antediluvians shall rise and consume all kindred and mankind. Final Death, a term used to describe a vampire dying for good, a death to which there is no return. Diablerie, a term used to describe a vampire drinking another vampire's blood to gain their powers. Of course, I could go on and describe the clans in detail, or outline more vampire terminology, plus there's things I haven't even mentioned, like the fact that there's werewolves, mummies, zombies, ghosts, and all sorts of horrors in the world of darkness. Please keep in mind that I want this to be more of an introduction and not a comprehensive deep dive. I want this video to get people acquainted with the universe so they can dig deeper if they want to. I must say, the manual for Redemption has some beautiful illustrations in it, as well as plenty of information regarding the VTM lore. If anything, this is definitely worth looking at. It's been a vital asset when producing this video. And that's where I'll stop for now. Thank you very much for watching, and please be sure to subscribe so you won't miss my VTM videos. Also consider buying me a coffee, and I will see you soon for Redemption, the first ever VTM video game. Will there be any redemption for me? Stay tuned to find out. Take care out there.